and welcome to No Strings, Just Candor, Season 1, Episode 10. And for everybody that has been with me since Episode 1, we all know this is a big deal for me. I didn't even think I was going to make it past 3. So my goal was to at least get to 10, and here we are. It is Episode 10, and it is blowing my mind because I never thought that I would have so much of a community around me just pushing me to get better and just empowering me. So thank you so much. And not only are we celebrating my 10th episode, but we are celebrating the fact that I got to 50 followers. A lot of times I look at other YouTubers or I look at other, creators, and obviously there are millions and thousands and everything. And everybody's like, oh, well, it's 50. 50 is a huge deal for me because the way that I see it is, can you imagine I'm in a room and there's 50 people who are willing to listen to me just talk and be myself about God knows what? That's mind-blowing to me. And I'm just so excited. And if you are new here, I am so sorry that you had to have a welcome like this where I'm just kind of exploding with happiness. And I want to say welcome, first of all. And if this is where you're joining us, then definitely look at our past videos and kind of catch up for the ride. And in No Strings, Just Candor, the reason why I created this podcast is because I wanted to talk candidly about mental health. I wanted to talk about HR, which is my career. I wanted to talk about empowerment. I wanted to talk about all these little things that we sometimes shy away from saying or shy away from doing. And the reason why it is No Strings, Just Candor is because I'm not tied to a company. I'm a fractional consultant. I'm a fractional chief people officer. I have my own business, and I don't have one employer who will tell me, no, you cannot put that out there because that doesn't follow with our brand. So I decided to put No Strings because I have no strings. I do have my clients that I love very much, but all of my clients know that I am building a brand and they know that I'm doing this and they empower me and they love it and they support me in all the way that I can. So that's kind of the story behind the No Strings, Just Candor. I don't think anybody has ever heard it before. But today, I kind of wanted to take a step back from having a specific topic, and I kind of wanted to talk about Q&A. Because in the beginning, I kind of jumped right in and I started talking about different things, and I just come up with the topics myself and kind of go from there. So now that we're in episode 10, I obviously feel more comfortable in front of the camera and I feel more comfortable just in general. So I'm hoping that past episode 10, we're going to have so many amazing and exciting things that are going to happen. So we are going to start with questions, a Q&A. I did put up a form and I got some questions. I promise that I couldn't get to all of them, but I did get some very interesting questions. I did not necessarily pick them in any order. I just kind of picked the ones that I felt like that I could really speak to and talk about. And I also went back to some of the comments of my older videos because there were some questions that were there and I didn't answer them. So bad on me, but I am going to answer them today. And by the way, look, new cards. I told you I was going to have flashcards and they were going to look professional and they were going to look nice. You are welcome. Let's go ahead and let's start with question number 1. In your experience, what's a common mistake senior executives make when trying to turn around a failing culture? So this goes back to maybe one of my older videos about accountability. And I think that senior executives, I don't want to generalize, but I think a lot of times senior executives may be a little detached from reality. Or they may have big egos, or it just comes down to maybe fear. The common mistake that I see senior executives make when they're trying to turn around the failing culture is listening to the advice of the experts around them, but most of all, listening to the employees. A lot of times you would see executives are all talking about a failing culture and they're saying, what can we do? What can we do? But when you're looking around the table, it's just executives. We don't have a voice for the actual employees, for maybe HR, because HR doesn't get invited to these tables a lot of times. And this all just ties back to 1, egos, and refusing the fact that they are the reason why the culture is failing. 2, fear that they are the reason the culture is failing. Sometimes it does get a little messy because in the startup world, which is where my expertise is, we hire friends, we hire family, and then it gets really complicated. And then it becomes, this person became a manager with zero experience as a manager, and now they're creating a toxic culture. HR and employees are saying they are creating a toxic culture, and these senior executives, because they have a personal tie to these individuals, are refusing to acknowledge it. So, all in all, I would say that the common mistake senior executives make is just listening to the experts around them and listening to the employees when they're telling you exactly what is wrong with the culture. The second question that I have is, how do you tell when redirection is actually a chance to grow and not just a setback? So this is a really big thing for me because I speak a lot about imposter syndrome, rejections. If you get rejected, then you maybe turn around and you make something of it. This question really speaks to me. And the way that you can tell that it's a chance to grow and not just a setback is, do you still want it? If you still want it, it's a setback, but it's also a chance to grow. Why did it happen? Why did you get rejected about this? Is it because you weren't prepped enough for your interview? Or was it because you realized that this wasn't what you wanted to do, so you didn't give it your all? Or what is it? So I would say you really can't separate and say this is a chance to grow or this is redirection. I feel like you could just feel it. If you still want something and this is your goal and you're saying this is what I'm made for, this is my life's purpose, and you feel it in your heart, then I would say it's a chance for you to grow and move forward. The best way that I can put this is, when I was, and I know there's another question that's regarding this, so I don't want to give too much, but when I started in my HR journey, it wasn't a traditional one. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have someone that I can go to and say, hey, this is happening, what's going on? So a lot of times I would make mistakes, and being a type A type person, when I would make mistakes, they would really affect me. So I know in my heart that I'm meant for HR. I know that I'm meant for empowering people. I know that I'm meant for talking to people. And I knew that even though I made these mistakes that I called setbacks, it was a chance for me to grow and understand what not to do moving forward. A lot of people think it's two different things. And to me, it's just the fact that the setback is the chance to grow. Somebody said, more interviewing tips. Give us more interviewing tips. Right now, the market is probably one of the hardest markets I have ever seen. Gig economy is going up, so you're going to have a lot of fractionals out there. You're going to have a lot of consultants out there, a lot of people that are going to be doing your job for a fraction of the price and for a fraction of the time. And it's going to get competitive. People have been in this industry for many, many, many years. So when it comes to interviewing, you still have to know that you are the expert. But before you show up and you're saying, I'm the expert, you need me in your company, research the company. Do your values really align with this company? Know the gaps that this company have. Are you really good at this industry? Do you really know about this industry? Do you really know what's happening in this industry? Maybe learn about the gaps and what you can bring to the table that's currently not at that company. Another one is know your interviewer. I cannot tell you the times when I had to do talent acquisition. I would meet with someone, and in the very beginning, they would just be like, so who are you? Are you an agency? Are you the recruiter? Are you an in-house? But it was on my LinkedIn. You could have just looked into my LinkedIn. You could have known about me. You could have seen my background. Interviewers take interest in those who take interest in the company and in themselves. So make this kind of a conversation rather than an interrogation. Practice. There's nothing wrong with practicing. One of the biggest things that I can tell you is write down all of your accomplishments and write down all of your star behaviors. Talk about just your key accomplishments and build stories around them. How did you get there? Why did you make that happen? What was that action? What was the result? Right? So have that, learn it. Nobody tells you that you have to do a different one for every single company, but when they're asking you questions and asking you about a time you did X, Y, and Z, if you have these stories memorized and you have these key accomplished memorized, it would be so much easier to have that conversation. So grab anybody. I mean, I've practiced with Allie before, and I've told her I have this huge interview coming up. This is all of the notes that I have. I print out the job description. I highlight the things that I've been really good at, and then I practice with her. I say, I want you to ask me about these so I can tell you the things that I've done that are relevant to this job description. And just know that you're the expert, right? They need you. They're hiring for your role. You are the expert. It's a scary place to be interviewing. It's very vulnerable. You really need a job. You're obviously not there for fun. You're there because you need a job and you need to get paid. So if you're in talent acquisition, please stop asking people why you want to work for us, because the answer would be the economy is shit. The market is crashing. Everybody's doing a rat race for a job that pays exponentially low. And yeah, that's why I want to work for you. I want to work for you because I need to live. There's not going to be a huge story behind why do you want to work for us. Maybe one person out of 10 will tell you an inspiring story, but also 9 times out of 10, that person is thinking the same thing. Dude, I just want the job. I know that I can do it. I know that I can be successful, but I need stability and I just need to work for you. So always keep that in mind. And again, if you are a talent acquisition person and in your questions that you have to ask your candidates is, why do you want to work for us? Please stop asking that, especially in this market. Don't come for me for that because I feel really strong about that question. And then don't overthink yourself to despair. And I am about to share a very hot topic. I recently went to an offsite for fractional individuals for a community that I'm a part of. And I was part of a table that was fantastic. The community that I built there, the people and the connections that I made blew me away, mostly for the fact that I was out of my comfort zone. I did not know not one person in this entire offsite, in this entire meeting. I did not know one person personally. I walked in and I just said, here's me. And I really want to say the right people really did flock to me. And I'm so thankful for that. But we were talking about talent acquisition. And we hit on a topic where it left a lot of us saying, yeah, but who can dare to say this out loud? I'm going to say the controversial thing. There is a lot of times where I have been in a talent acquisition role and I have been interviewing someone who has a stable job, who is getting very well paid. And the reason for moving from a company is because they believe in the company that I'm in, or they say that they need a change or whatever it is. And I know the company that I'm working for. I know the culture, obviously, you're interviewing for. And a lot of times what talent acquisition people won't tell you, if they do this, is I have rejected people before that have been 100% capable in doing the job. But I knew in my heart that if they were to leave their job and come over to my company, it was going to be a mistake for them. Because either we had a very toxic culture, or I knew they weren't going to last long in this role because of the leader that they had, or because there were so many reasons. So I'm going to say the controversial thing. I have rejected candidates before because of the culture of the company that I have worked for. If you have a stable job, if you feel happy, and sometimes I would ask this person, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel happy in your job? Because I don't want to assume maybe you're just like, I just want to leave. I'm unhappy. It looks great, but I'm unhappy. But I would ask them, I was like, are you happy at your job? And they would say, yeah. And I would ask the questions that were needed for me to decide and say, them coming to me and to this company is one of the biggest mistakes. And I cannot live with myself if this person later on loses a job. So, for example, I was in a role one time where we had to hire someone for a specific role. This person had, they had seniority, they had tenure within this company, they had great benefits, they were happy. The reason they wanted to come to us was because somebody reached out to her and sold her a bill of goods that I knew were not true. But when I spoke to this person, I said, "This is great." And I ended up just going back and saying, "I'm sorry, we are going to move along with other candidates." Now, I could not say, "Hey, we're passing on you because our culture fucking sucks and you're going to end up getting fired within the first 3 months because our company may not be doing well, or our company is reducing the size of that department, or our company is just using you as a Hail Mary." I couldn't tell them that. But what I could do was reject them. So I guess that story goes into, don't overthink yourself to despair. Don't always think that you're getting rejected because of your skills, because of your resumes, because of anything that you're doing. Sometimes the rejection that comes to you comes from a place that is bigger than you. Sometimes it's about internal conversations that are going on. Other times it's about politics within the office. There's so many different factors about rejections and not picking you for a role that people don't understand. So don't take every single rejection for every single role personal. Sometimes just think back and say, I know that I was qualified for this role and they rejected me. Had to be a reason. And then you kind of move on from there. I know it's easier said than done. I have had my fair share of rejections for roles that I have loved, but I've always had to remind myself and say, maybe this was a redirection. And I grew from it. Now, number 4 is prompt and other info you need for AI prepping. So AI is a very controversial conversation for a lot of people. A lot of people are for AI. A lot of people are against AI. I'm in the middle. I use AI for certain things. I don't use AI for everyday things. What I do is that I do prep for interviews with AI. So, for example, I knew that I had an interview with a CFO for one of my consulting gigs. And I did a little research on the CFO and I got to know the CFO a little bit better. And I just I had this moment of saying, maybe this is a really tough CFO. And this is someone that I'm going to really have a hard time pitching to. And technically, you're not pitching, you're just basically having a conversation on how you're going to walk in and make the organization better. But what I did was I did type into ChatGPT and I said, make yourself the meanest, hardest, hard-headed CFO. And I basically described it and I put it in. And I said, now ask me questions and interview me. And I pulled in the job description. I removed all of the company's information or any confidential information that would say which company it was for. But I said, this is the role. You're the CFO. Argue with me, poke holes with me, and interview me. And it really did prep me. Sometimes it would ask me questions where I was like, oh, I really hope the CFO doesn't ask me this question because I have no fucking clue what I'm going to say. So sometimes the prompts for AI is something like that. Just describe the person that's going to be interviewing you, which goes back to know your interviewer, and just the purpose. Just say, I'm prepping for this. I need you to act as a, and then you describe the person and you're going to say, now interview me based on my skills. You're going to copy your resume. You're going to remove your personal information. And I put it into ChatGPT and I said, based on my experience, how would you have a conversation with me and how would I be able to win you over? And I prepped for it and I actually did get the contract. So I guess it worked. I've used it other times and it doesn't work. So, I mean, I think it's a hit or miss, but prompts you can use are similar to that. The other question I got is, it says, it's tough, but it makes all the difference. I think it would be really valuable to discuss how to keep leadership teams satisfied and hit business goals while staying true to what you know your teams need. So it all boils down to, for me, communication. I am one type of HR. Not every HR is, or people expert or people professionals, we're not all alike. We're actually very different in many ways. And to me, candor and transparency and communication are key to when I'm working with senior leaders or even executives. And I get to know people in a different way. I don't get to know them in superficial ways. I want to know, if I sit down with you, I want to know everything about you. I really want to be able to have a connection with you. So the way that I can tell you to think of it is leadership and executives have a main common goal in their mind. We want the company to be successful. We want the company to make money. We want the company to move forward. So how do we do this? So when you go towards your leadership or your executives and you're saying, I really want this initiative to happen. I know this is what my team needs. Start off with what the leadership team cares about. Let's say you have a board, you have a table, and in the table you have a CEO, a CFO, a CMO, you have all of your C's, and you know that the one making the decision is the CFO. Your mind should directly go and say, how do I make this digestible to the CFO, and how do I make this in their language? For example, I had this one client one time that was spending, I want to say close to $1 million, and I'm not exaggerating. It was close to $1 million in agency fees. I knew that I could save them probably more than half of that. So what I ended up doing, which was actually a story that I love to tell, is I ended up getting the number that they were spending, estimate of what they were spending in an agency. And my presentation started with just the number. And I asked, and I said, how does that number make you feel? The answers were, well, it depends. We can either hate or love that number. And I said, okay, fair enough. If I were to tell you, you can make that amount of money next year, half or that amount of money next year, what would you say to me? And they said, well, oh my God, we would love that. We would be so excited. That's a lot of money that is going to go back into our pockets. We could expand, we could do X, Y, and Z. And they started kind of just making so many plans for this money that they were saying I was going to save them. So I said, okay, what if I were to tell you you were losing this amount of money? And immediately they perked up and they said, well, we would be distraught. We should not be spending this amount of money. He's like, either way, this is not the amount of money we are spending. And unfortunately, after doing numbers, I was pretty close. I was just thousands of dollars close of being close to that number. And they were dumbfounded. It was kind of like that moment of saying, are we really spending this much in agency fees? And I said, yes. And agencies don't come for me, but we all know agencies, you guys are very expensive. So I ended up kind of having a roadmap. And I said, well, I can save you either 50 to 75%, maybe more of this amount of money by creating a talent acquisition department for you. So all in all, that's to say, know who you're talking to. The question, how to keep leadership teams satisfied? They're satisfied when their teams are working. They're satisfied when they're making money. But then it's, what does your team need? And what does your team want? A lot of people would say, I know what my team needs. Do you really? Have you spoken to them? You are not speaking to your team. It is very hard for you to know what your team wants and needs. So know who you're talking to, know the outcome that you want to get to, and get their attention from the start. So question 6, how do you even start creating a workplace that truly puts people first, especially when it comes to mental health? Everybody that knows me knows that I am a huge mental health advocate. I speak up about mental health. I speak about my mental health. I got diagnosed with severe ADHD, depression, CPTSD. I have no problem talking about my mental health because guess what? I wake up every day. I still move forward. I have my bad days. Everybody does. I'm a huge, huge advocate for mental health. And this is a topic that I can speak to for hours. You start a workplace that puts people first by being fully yourself. But that means that you need to put you're big human pants on. I don't want to say big girl pants on or big boy pants on. You're just big human pants on. And if you are in a leadership position, you have to speak up about it. You have to talk about why mental health is important. Mental health in corporate and just the professional environment is huge. There's so much research behind mental health and the workplace that it blows my mind every single time. If you were to clearly, honestly speak to a leader within your team and you're able to come to them with facts and say, this is what's making our company vulnerable. Our teams are in danger of having their mental health affected either by burnout or by dealing with this individual or X, Y, and Z. So you start creating the workplace that truly puts people first by having the conversation and embodying that. I am deeply passionate about mental health and I'm deeply passionate about people. So when I speak about it, people can tell. And because of that, I wear it on my sleeve. And every company that I go to, I say, okay, so how do we make this people first? When you're building a people first environment, workplace, start with the facts and take it and say, these are the things that are currently impacting us. This is how it's impacting us. And this is what I plan to do to guard us, to protect us from this not happening. And this is what I plan to do if it ends up happening. Maybe start with just bringing the facts and bringing a plan and kind of really pushing and being a fierce advocate for wanting that to be your workplace. We're almost done here, but one of the other ones is how to create a safe space for employees. This is a tough one, and I had to give it a lot of thought, and it depends on what type of safe space we're talking about. I'm going to tell you how to create a safe space in HR for employees. If employees don't see you, HR is non-existent to them. And if HR is non-existent to them, that is not a safe place. That is an unknown place, which is a scary place. And everybody thinks that HR is scary. We're there to terminate. We're there to be able to tell you you're doing something wrong. We're there to reprimand you. We're there to... That's what they think of HR. That's what a lot of people think of HR. And the way that I do it is that I walk in and I say, I like to know people. So I don't care if I'm a chief people officer. I don't care if I'm a generalist. I don't care if I'm a coordinator. I don't care what role I'm in, but I embed myself within every single department within the company. If you have a research team, I will show up to your research meetings, and the first time it's going to be awkward. And the first time everybody's going to be holding their breath and clenching different parts of their bodies. And they're going to say, why is HR here? Oh my God, we're in trouble. But I'm just there to know more about your team, your dynamics. Then the second time I'm going to show up, they're going to be like, well, this is weird. This is the second time he's going to show. Eventually, somebody's going to say, what are you doing here? And I'm going to say, knowing more about you. Another thing that I do is that I do kind of like a coffee roulette where I just pick a random employee within my companies and I say, let's go grab a coffee or let's have a Zoom coffee. A safe space for people is a place where they know that they're going to be supported, that they're going to be understood, and they're not going to be judged. Now, please do not blur that line. You are still HR. Unfortunately, we are not therapists. And one of the things that I tell my employees is when you come to me and you want to have a conversation, it will remain confidential and I will be 100% here for you unless it violates any of our policies. Once it violates any of our policies or crosses any lines where I think somebody is in danger or you're a danger to yourself or there is harassment or there is any type of wrongdoing, that is where we say, nope, we need to do something about this. And the most important thing that I say and the most important disclaimer is if you're having this conversation with me, it is a safe space. Know what you're going to say to me. And if you so happen to say the kind of a trigger word for me for HR, I will tell you, I am so sorry. This cannot stay with us. We have to do something about this. But as far as creating a safe space, I tell my team, just be there. Just be there. Be there when they need you, and create a safe space where they know that they can go to you and they can have an honest conversation and not get reprimanded, judged, or dinged, or screamed at, or whatever. So again, have that conversation, show up, learn about what they do. You should absolutely know the business inside and out. That is how we thrive as HR, as people operations. So get to know the people, not at a superficial level. Create a safe space where your employees can go to you or your HR team and they can say, I just need to tell you this. In the beginning, I tell them, do you want solutions or do you just want to vent? A lot of times when people just want to vent, we get a lot of things from it where we say, oh, this is an ongoing thing. Because we built a safe space, so many people are coming back to us and telling us this, and we keep hearing it. That is when we are, as HR, saying, oh shit, this is an actual problem. We need to look at it. And then finally, the last question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting to work as a young professional, and how did you overcome those challenges? The biggest challenges that I faced when I started was being taken serious. It was really hard to be taken serious overall, as a woman, as a Latina, as just a young Latina woman. It was hard. I can't lie. And the way that I kind of got over that was I just didn't take it personal. They saw me as a kid. They said, well, you don't have a lot of experience. Or they would use statements such as, I could be your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, which is really creepy. Please stop saying that to people. They would use things like that. And at first, I would get really upset, and then I just got used to it. But I would set boundaries. I would be like, please don't say that. I know what I'm doing. And as I grew in my profession, I started learning to just go with it. When those challenges of me not being taken serious, and I started learning all these different things about the business, and I started learning different ways to deal with departments and everything. And then I realized the supervisor that could have been my mom or my dad or whatever, they didn't have that attachment to these people around them, but I knew how to navigate them. So the best way to overcome these challenges is to face them head on and prepare. Know you're going to face challenges even when you're not a young professional. Even as a tenured professional, even with someone that has decades of experiences, you are always going to be challenged, either by a person or by a system or by a policy or by a process or by a department and so on. But the best way to overcome this is face them head on. So my best advice to you is, whatever challenge it is that you're facing as a young professional, take it with a grain of salt. Do not take it personal. Every professional gets challenged. Overcoming these challenges will make you grow exponentially. I'm not saying it's easy. You're going to get mad and you're going to get frustrated. And how you're going to turn around, and how I hope you're going to turn it around, is, okay, I get it. I'm listening. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to improve it, but also be smart. The way that I climbed the ladder in HR so fast was by just volunteering. Oh, I don't know how to do this. I'll figure it out. But we don't know. I'm resourceful. I'll do it. And I learned all of these different skills and tasks that now I can say, yeah, I'll do it. I have no problem jumping into unknown waters. This is metaphorically, but I have no problem jumping into unknown waters with knowing that I'm going to stumble a lot. Keep going. I know who wrote this. And my message to the person who wrote this, because they included their name, but I just don't want to call them out, is you are a fantastic individual and you continue to work so hard every single day. And you are going to face these challenges, but there's nothing at all that I see in you that's going to make me worry and say they're not going to get over this challenge. You are more than worthy. You are more than ready to be an exceptional professional in your career. So challenges, take them head on and take them as a chance to grow. I'm not a professional public speaker, guys. Please keep that in mind. Nor am I a life coach, nor am I an expert. I don't care how long I've been in my field. I still learn things every single day. I still make mistakes, a lot of them. Sometimes I feel like a failure. Sometimes I feel like I'm winning. It is a ride, which is why I'm so thankful for all 50. And I'm hoping that later I'm going to say 100 and then 150 and then 200. I am hoping to build a community that just wants to listen to me. In the beginning, I said that everybody has told me to find my audience. And I have said, I don't have a specific audience. My audience is people who want to listen to me. And if you are that person and you're good with rambling because of ADHD, sometimes, not yet, I haven't cried, but sometimes maybe I'll cry, and maybe sometimes I'll be angry. Maybe sometimes I'll be emotional, happy, excited. If you are ready to take this journey with me, please like, subscribe, share, because I want to build a community where people are empowered. I want to build a community where the words I can't just are very far away from the vocabulary. Not saying that you can't say the words I can, because sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves and say I can't. Like, for example, I tried knitting. I cannot do that. I don't have the patience for it. I'm not good at it. My hands, I have hyperhidrosis. My hands are not good for, I can't, right? But all in all, I want to say thank you. I hope the answers to your questions helped. If you have more questions, please don't hesitate to email me at nostringsjustcandor@gmail.com. And I will be able to answer questions or help out. Or if you want to do a one-on-one, I'm also able to do that. Just go ahead, again, send me an email. This is our 10th episode. This is a huge deal. And I am hoping that we are going to continue to grow and be there for one another. I don't know if I want to do ASMR yet. I have nothing else to say. So, goodbye and thank you. This was exciting. I hope this sounds good. I hope this makes sense. Okay, well, that's it. Love you guys.